Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of the Dave DY Show. I'm glad you're with me. I haven't been avoiding this topic. Maybe I have. I don't know. No, I don't think I have. If you're not aware, this weekend is huge for the UFC. So, there it is. They are fighting in Anaheim. So you and I will go down to Palm Beach International, West Palm, or we can go to Lauderdale, or we can roll down to Miami, hang out, get a Cubano, maybe a smoke, a nice Cuban. Oh, happy Rum Day. Today's National Rum Day. Rum Bullion. Yes! Dude, we could have a blowout. Get on the jet. No, not the commercial, the private jet. Like a G6, I don't even know what it is. What's the jet they fly nowadays? The Gulfstream 9? The Gulfstream 11? Whatever. We roll out to Anaheim. We drop some chaos and violence at the fight, then roll over to the land of Disney, drop some chaos and violence at Disneyland. Yeah! Roll back. Blowout weekend. Saturday is UFC, what is it? 241. UFC 241. This is a massive card. Massive. There's early prelims, and then main card. The early prelims are 4 fights of nobodies for the most part. I think there's a couple gals fighting, you might know. But nobodies, right? Which is what they're doing now. That's the proving grounds for the up-and-comers, which is awesome. Nobody watches them. If they do, it's on ESPN 2 or Ocho or Plus, where you can't even watch it. You got to rent it, buy it, stream it, sneak it, whatever. And then the prelims, they have Rafael Assunção, and he's fighting, buddy, who's Rafael Assunção fighting? Rafael is fighting Corey Sandhagen. Oh, God. That's gonna get ugly. I don't think you're gonna have a 3-round decision on that bomb. Those guys throw. Assunção's pretty good with submissions and his ground game and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And he's pretty tough striking too. He wings it. So, I don't know. I don't know if Corey Sandhagen's gonna go out there and let himself get caught. I think he's gonna lay waste. But all that crap aside, you move right to the main card. And the main card, oh my God. It's a 5-fight blowout. And this thing is as big or on par with, I think, the July 3rd. What's today, August, whatever? The middle of August? The 17th is the fight, tomorrow. With the July 3rd card that I think I last went to you with MMA Talk on. This is a big one. And it's a big one because, again, it's in the, what's it called? The Honda Center, right out there in Anaheim. So we can fly from Little Cuba in Miami right out on the private Lolita Express with Epstein and his broken neck bones. Fly right out there. And then drop in on Disneyland, maybe coerce a few of the children there and take them to the UFC fight and show them what real violence is. Yeah. This card is insane. Derek Brunson, Jan Henich, going to be a great fight. Brunson can have the tendency to lay back. He can be slow to develop. But then he's also, even when he's playing that game, he's a defensive puncher. Not a great striker, but he will wing it, and he will knock the shit. They're heavyweights, they're big boys. Knock the shit out of you. So, or not heavyweights, they're middleweights. So that one's going to be ugly. They both can throw. And then you've got Gabriel Benitez against Sadiq Youssef. Those two are trying to develop themselves for the big stardom. So my expectation is, with the light on the main card on them, woo, they're both going to show up and they're both going to engage. They won't dance. The first fight, Brunson and Jan, that's not going to be a submission. The last week's fights, they were all submissions, wherever the hell they were. I don't even know if they were in this country. They might have been. It might have been Minnesota, not even this country, wherever the hell we were. A lot of submissions, maybe a lot of decisions, not a lot of knockouts, TKOs or submissions, 2 or 3 out of 12 fights. This one's going to be all knockouts and submissions. You're not going to go to decisions, so you better not blink. Gabriel Benitez and Sadiq Youssef, no decision there. Going to be ugly. The next 3 fights are gigantically epic. I tried to see down here at the BBT Center in Hollywood, Sunrise, Florida, whatever it's called, a bit inland. Fine arena, wonderful establishment. I don't know who plays there. The basketball, one of the basketball teams? The Miami Heat, maybe? I don't know who plays there. But it's a full-blown arena. It's beautiful. It holds 10, 12,000 people. I got an episode out there. Go back and look at it. It was fight night. Yoel Romero was supposed to fight. Bitch jumped out. Dude, if you haven't seen Yoel Romero and you don't know about him, Cuban, was an Olympic wrestler, gold medal wrestler, I'm pretty sure, for Cuba. Genetic freak. Totally loaded with drugs. Don't know if that's the case now. He seems like he's lost some size. Is a lifetime athlete from adolescence through his adulthood. He is a fiend. And not only that, you got all that and you put it into a fighter. Dude, you're unstoppable. But he is a soldier of God. That's his nickname. It's Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero. So he fights on the side of Jesus. And he's very thankful. He's quite a poser. He plays an awesome role. He's that sneaky Fidel Castro Cuban. Oh, Jesus, a soldier of God. He plays this role where he doesn't speak good English and all this shit. Dude, he goes home and I bet you he drinks like Jack Daniels and smokes Marlboros and talks like this. And is Soldier of God. But he downplays his role. And he's a fiend. He is a world-class wrestler like Khabib. The Eagle Nurmagomedov is a world-class python. Yoel is on par with that. And Yoel, I think, knocked out Luke Rockhold. Yoel's had some massive wins against the who's who. I think he's had a couple controversials. I think he's got this weird streak in him where he tends to bail out. When he was on the drugs, he'd gas. He'd get tired in the latter rounds, and then he'd sort of float around and get punchy, and he'd try to survive. He looks much leaner in the recent pictures I've seen of him. He doesn't have the bulk, but he's still shredded, and he's still got solid muscle mass genetically. And so that's going to be a sick fight. I don't know who's going to win that fight. Paulo Costa has similar style. He's stand-up, he's strong, he's got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he's got a ground game, nowhere near the wrestling and ground game that Yoel Romero has, just doesn't. Not many people ever have had that. I could see that fight being the one that goes to decision. Romero gets gassed, he hangs back, he wants to proliferate his winning streak, he wants to stay active without injury, he wants to not take a beating. Paulo Costa, he attacks. Yoel Romero, not great defensive fighter. He will evade, gets on his bicycle, moves around the octagon, but Paulo Costa will catch you and crush you. So that is on the main card. That's the fight I see going for decision, but I don't know, maybe it won't. And on the main card, that's the fight I see not having fireworks. These other 4 fights, the 2 that I just told you, Benitez, Youssef, and Brunson Hennish, they're going to be blow-ups. And then you got Anthony Pettis against Nate Diaz. So the Stockton slap is in the house. That's going to be a grueling street fight. I don't know what Pettis will show up. I know what Diaz will show up. The same Diaz, whether it's Nate or Nick, that always shows up. They will walk forward. They will not have great power. They will do the Stockton slap. That's what they're known for. I'm spitting. That he smoked a blunt in the pre-warm-ups or whatever a couple days ago, and one of the media, he walked on stage. Dude, it's the Diaz brothers. That's going to be awesome. On one hand, I love the Diaz brothers, and I'm glad he's back after a layoff quite a while. Pettis, I struggle with. He could have been the greatest. He did some great moves. We remember him doing a cage jump, the Matrix style, off the octagon cage wall into Ben Henderson, kicking him in the face and knocking his weaved hairdo onto the ground. That was in WEC, the World Extreme Cage Fighting or whatever. And then Life ran and caught up with Pettis. Well, Life in the UFC. And the UFC had some sick people show up and just beat him into submission. Still a great fighter. I don't know who will show up. I think this fight's going to be insane and sick and exciting. Pettis doesn't back down. He takes his face right into it until it's tenderized, like a brutal piece of hamburger. Diaz does the same. Diaz cuts and takes shots, but he's got really good skeletal structure. He doesn't really swell. He'll bleed. He'll get beat up. He'll get his nose crunched, but he always manages. So that's going to be a sick fight. And then you got the main fight. The headliner fight. That's the co-main. You got the headliner, which is Cormier-Stipe. Daniel Cormier's swan song, supposedly, right? I think he'll fight back again. If it's for money, that's Cormier. I think he'll always show up. He's a man of his word, but he's also a smart businessman. And this is Daniel Cormier-Stipe Miocic 2. And in the first one, I had money that Stipe would knock him out, and he should have. He hit him with some good shots, but I don't know if he played the game that he needed to play. He doesn't have the chin he's had. Stipe's been through some brawls. And unfortunately, Daniel had some size and power. He was going at 240 or whatever, which is what he normally walks at, without sucking down to light heavy, 205. And he did that like Mike Tyson, power from inside uppercut or right hand, and it just smashed Stipe. And he jumped on him and beat him into, the next dimension. I don't think that will happen again. And that's what surprised me, watching Stipe fight a lesser expert fighter like Francis Ngannou with 10 times the power. He evaded, and he won. Daniel Cormier is probably one of the most able and wily fighters to ever walk in the octagon. Multiple expertise, multiple techniques, a thinking fighter on his feet, takes instruction, makes adjustments and changes, actually analyzes during the fight, and then has a plan well before he walked in. So he already knew in deep detail, as you've seen from The Mind of Daniel Cormier, his new series out there, he already knows what he's going to do. And then if all these other options show up where Stipe changes this, does leg kicks, does that, stays back, becomes a counterpuncher, whatever, goes to takedown, they have a whole nother alternate scheme that they adjust to. So I would expect, again, I'm going to say this again, Stipe should win this fight. I don't think Daniel Cormier is going to win this fight. And then that was the first fight I said. Stipe's a much better striker, much more powerful. But there's also the psychological aspect where Stipe already walked into the octagon, and much like a Luke Rockhold or somebody, that gets knocked out by Michael Bisping, he's lost to this individual. That doubt creeps into your mind, into your routine, into your training, into your armor, into your invincibility, into your record, into your legacy, and it's always there. It haunts. And this fight has a part to vindicate that, but it also has the memory there. So there's a possibility Daniel wins again. I do not think via knockout. No bueno. No mas. Not going to happen. I don't think Stipe will let that. And when I say that, what does that mean? That he's not going to let Daniel come in and pressure him against the cage and grapple and dirty box and hold, right? Ooh, Stipe is known to do that. Known to do that with many fighters, right? Especially when he's larger, which he is. He's bigger. He's taller than Daniel. Maybe marginally heavier, but he's a bigger fighter than Cormier. Cormier's shorter and squattier. So I don't know. This is not a good matchup for Stipe Miocic. And I think that's why he lost the first fight. I expect him to change his technique. I don't know about his coaching. He's got good coaching, but he's never done what Daniel Cormier and others have done, traveled the world, invited every expert into their gym, analyzed all their weaknesses, picked the pros, the really established, decades old, knowledgeable people that modify them, that they teach. I know Stipe's a hustler and a hard worker, but he does not have near the structure that Cormier has in place. Cormier is a world-class, ever-learning expert, which is why he's champ. He's on the Fox commentating. He does the color commentary. He is an all-around, and that's simply an extension of what he was in the Olympics. The same thing in Greco-Roman wrestling. An all-around, fully immersed. He is an above-average intellectual in a combat arena. Fucking look out. He will maul you and eat you. I expect Stipe should win this, but I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel does. So, will I be watching this on pay-per-view, which is the ESPN Plus subscription, and then the $60 purchase of pay-per-view to stream it anywhere? No, I will never watch that. So we'll be streaming this illegal. Dude, I did not say that. I don't know how I'll watch this. I'll go to a fashionable, reputable location that is broadcasting it. Buffalo Wild Wings or something or somewhere or a friend's house. God, I'm not a thief. I'm excited. These are going to be some sick fights. You better tune in. You better watch. You better love it. And then let's go to Disney. Yay, Magic Mountain. Woo! We'll ride the rides. I like outdoor adventure. What's the one across? Not the Disney park. I think it's the Adventureland. I don't know. It had Buzz Lightyear. I think it had the Minions. All the rides right there. Oh, way better. That was a fun park. But whatever. Disneyland is fabulous. We should go there to calm it down after some combat expertise at the Honda Center. God bless Anaheim. It's weird. I'm just waiting for one of these shooters to do something at a UFC contest. They will get eaten. They will be combat mauled. They'll kill 3 people and then be Ezekiel choked right out in the parking lot to death with their gun and they're wrapped around their head. Whew. So I do not mean that. I don't want that to happen. And like I said, comment, like, subscribe, share. What are your thoughts on this thing? Oh, UFC. It's 241. Dave D. West Show out.